Resident Evil 4 is a game I've revisited countless times over the years. After my most recent playthrough, gathering footage for my last video, I found myself revisiting the bite-sized extra mini-mode, Assignment Ada. During my half-hour romp through this short and sweet minigame, my final 3 brain cells rubbed together and I generated one single thought. Man, I wonder how fast you could actually beat this. Naturally, I instantly put all my projects on hold and consulted the speedrunning community, in which I was granted the forbidden knowledge of the Assignment Ada speedrun. Now, I'm no speedrunner, I've never even tried it, so the footage you're seeing on screen is from a live stream where I learned the strats and movement of the run by watching a single video on the internet, and then publicly made a fool of myself with full attempts directly after. Through the tears and the many failed runs, I was adamant on achieving the one goal I set for myself: beat the game in under 5 minutes. Starting off, we serpentine through a few enemies that will almost always point at you if you're quick enough off of the starting line. Entering further into the compound, we meet our good friend JJ and do a quick movement strat where if we walk onto the staircase at the right angle and quickly stop moving beside JJ before continuing, JJ won't try to pistol whip us, but the enemies behind him's AI is manipulated into swinging at the wrong time, allowing us to pass through without any harm. After running past a few spread out enemies on the way, we come to an area full of shield guys who will always miss their swings if Ada is on their left side. Sprinting ahead, we angle the camera downwards to prevent the crossbow guy ahead of us from firing and run towards the right side of this hallway. Staying to the right here makes this enemy always step to the left here instead of trying to take a swing or trying to grab us. Once we climb the ladder at the end and climb through this vent like we're in Die Hard, we enter the facility and make our way down the hallways past a single enemy before entering the hardest room of the run, the first sample room. In Assignment Ada, Ada has to collect 5 Plaga samples before escaping in a chopper at the end of the mission. This being a speedrun, we need to collect those 5 samples as quickly as possible, with none of them being able to be skipped or glitched around. Grabbing this first sample is a multi-phased clusterfuck. The first hurdle is approaching this enemy as far to the left as possible, but not too far so that he doesn't swing at us too early. If we achieve that and actually pick up the sample, by the time the dialogue window goes away, the enemy will already be well into his swing animation. This means that we have to spam quick turns to turn around as quickly as possible, and then run out of range of his attack, all before his attack animation finishes and he actually hits us. If we can manage this, the next course of action is a section we call the 3-man weave. Entering this next room as perpendicular to this angled wall as possible, we run slightly left and then cut right to bait the first enemy into missing his swing. We'll then quick turn 2 times to the left and weave between him and the last 2 enemies blocking the hallway. If we were fast enough getting close to them and we stick to the left, they should be positioned in a way that will always have them missing their swings and Ada can get through without taking any damage. This is ridiculously hard to figure out how to make consistent. I think it all depends on how fast you are when you grab the sample. If you're too slow there, by the time you make it to the 3-man weave, the 3 enemies will be out of position and that movement pattern will no longer work, resulting in taking damage and losing time. After that garbage, we head down a few more hallways past a harmless enemy to grab the second sample from this freezer room. As we exit the freezer, we want to line Ada's head up with this brown square on this piece of canvas. Quick turning to the right twice, running forwards, and then immediately taking a few steps backwards should bait the shield guy into throwing out his bash attack too early. Plus, it makes the big guy here always do his pointing animation, making it easy to run past him. As soon as we get past the big guy, we want to cut to the right and then immediately to the left. This baits the stun baton guy into swinging a little too late. The next 2 rooms are entirely uneventful. The most we'll have to do here is bait out an enemy attack if they're in our way. These guys can all easily be run past with no real strat. Here in the control room, all we have to do is press this button and turn around before this guy can hit us. This one is way easier than trying to do it in that first Plaga sample room. Ahead, we grab and equip a hand grenade from a cabinet on the wall to make a precise throw through the window of this door. The goal here is to land the grenade at a specific spot under the table to the right, killing the enemy in front of you and the one standing on the other side of the table guarding the third Plaga sample. Sometimes this guy will survive, but he almost always points at you before he attacks, giving us enough time to grab the sample and make our way towards the door before he can even take a swing at us. After a hallway or 2, we arrive at the other incredibly finicky section of the run, the JJ room. Specifically, this enemy at the bottom of the stairs. We have to run slightly angled into the right side of this staircase, and for the last quarter of it, turn sharply just before we leave contact with the railing. What this is supposed to do is slightly slow you down while still keeping forward momentum to make this enemy swing late and have you as far to the right as possible as early as possible. Once you interact with the door at the bottom, you should either be able to run past him again without him being finished his first attack animation, or dodge his second attack rather easily. What happens 90% of the time is I mess up the movement on the stairs and he hits me before I can get to the door, or I move too slowly and he manages to hit me on my way back up. If we're incredibly lucky, we can make our way back up the stairs to where a large group of enemies and a JJ have spawned in. Here, we want to make our way nearly to the top of the stairs so that the enemies behind us don't hit us during this next part. We want to throw a grenade to kill the regular enemies in the group ahead, and then directly after the grenade is thrown, open the inventory and equip Ada's sniper rifle. Aiming down the sights, we want to hit JJ with 2 headshots in a row as quickly as we can before taking another step forward to get away from the enemies closing in behind us. After finishing JJ off with 1 more headshot, we take yet another step forward to dodge the enemies behind us who are now in attacking range. Quickly switching back to the pistol, we take the left of the staircase to dodge some enemies and pop these 2 guys guarding the door. This shield guys always misses if you go to the right here. After entering this next room and hopping over the broken window, we can grab the 4th sample before coming out the way we came and spamming the interact button to press this button before Ada actually gets up to the terminal. Quick turning around, we jump back through the window into this guy's loving arms, saved from the damage by iframes if timed right. Now all that's left is to bait an attack out of this big guy by slowing down in front of him, and we're at the Krauser fight. Running down to the end of the bridge, we want to make sure we're as far away from Krauser as possible to give us the most time possible to do damage before he reaches us. We do this by firing at his legs until he's up close, where we then switch to the knife and stun lock him. I actually really butchered this in this run. It still works, but it's remarkably slow. Krauser will then flashbang us and drop the 5th and final Plaga sample. We can then take the elevator up and call in the helicopter, finishing the mission and giving us our final time of 4 minutes and 51 seconds. After gallons of palm sweat and tears, I finally reached my goal of sub 5 minutes, which isn't much when you compare it to the official RE4 runners that do this category, but at the time of recording, this placed me at number 19 on the leaderboard, and I think for a first try at speedrunning, that's not bad. Thanks for watching. Check out my other much longer but far less sweaty Resident Evil 4 video here in the card.